Hi there, and welcome to another interview. I've got the fantastic Mark Ennis with me today. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Stephen. Thanks for having me on.
That's all right. I wanted to have you on, and I've saved this for now live. I heard you on the Carnivore Coaches Corner thing with Colt Milton and a few others, and I just thought this guy is amazing. Why have I never spoken to him before? Why have I never seen him? So, my first weird question is, why have I never seen you before?
You haven't heard of me, because I'm pretty much a small fish in a big pond at the moment. I'm living in Dublin at the moment, and there's not a lot of people over here that actually do the carnivore approach. So I wanted to reach out to people like yourself, to Cole, to Robert, to Sean Baker. There's an awful lot of people in the community that I look up to, and it was something that I wanted to always do because over in my country, nobody talks about keto, nobody talks about carnivore. It's just all about the standard uh, American diet or English diet or whatever.
Yeah. So,
So that was go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, it it amazed me how much knowledge you had and that, the great contributions you were making. So anyway, here you are, which is great. And I always ask this question: why did you become carnivore?
Okay, so I started carnivore because pretty much I've been doing fitness now for at least 25 years, and it pretty much started off with me when I was around 15 years of age. I was quite big, I was quite overweight. I got bullied in school because of that, and I didn't know where to go. And for all my life, I always had eating disorders. So I started off at that time, and I always wanted to get in shape, but I didn't know where to go. Um, and I asked my mother at the time, can we bring in some weights? Because at the time I was looking at a lot of magazines, and I was like, okay, I can do that. I can just get in shape real quick if I have some weights. But my mother was actually good friends with the gym owner, and she was like, why don't you not just join a gym? And I think at the time you could actually go into a gym at 16 years of age. So I waited till my next birthday, which is around a month away, got into the gym, got really, really addicted to it, to the point where my school took a back step and I was going to the gym pretty much every single day. So I was going into the gym, I was training for probably 2, maybe 3 hours a day. Then I was learning more about food, about diets, again, got obsessed about calories. Again, to the point where it just took over my life, literally just took over my life. So again, my studies took a major hit. Didn't do really well in school. And then eventually, I got into a situation where I developed anorexia. So I was anorexia for at least maybe 4 or 5 years. I took it to the extreme. My body fat went down extremely low, but I could never see it in the mirror. My energy was low as well. But again, I just wanted to keep fighting. I wanted to go back to the gym and just try and drop down more body fat and more body fat and more body fat. Then eventually myself and the family went away. And at this point, I had no more energy. I was literally uh, going off fumes at this stage. So I was stressing. I end up fainting on many occasions. We're to the point where one day we were in a caravan and I went to switch the channels on the TV, and apparently I collapsed. And if it wouldn't have been for my grandma, she literally got my head, and she got me just before I landed on the ring on a cooker. The cooker was actually on at the time. I can't remember what happened at all. I know I was told I blanked out for about 5 minutes, none whatsoever. After that, then I was brought into a hospital, and they told me basically your son is under eating at the moment. I think at the time, I think I was 15 years. I think it was 16 years of age, and I weighed around 4 stone. I think that's under like say 50 pounds. So I was extremely underweight at the time. That gave me a really bad time in my life. And when I was in there, these guys were just basically feeding me every 2 hours. I was on a drip, um, feeding me like loads of processed food, trying to add the weight back on as quick as possible. Um, but I just kept on getting to the stage. Every time they gave me food, I just basically threw it out the window. I didn't want to eat it. I again in my mind, I still had in my mind, I don't want to put weight on. I'm happy. All I want to do is get out of this hospital, go back to the gym, and get into a regular routine of trying to lose weight as much as possible. So that took over my mind for a good at least 5 or 6 years. It took a long, long time to get over that. Fast forward into my 20s, I needed some discipline in my life. So I joined a rugby club, and I was there for about 4 or 5 years. And it kind of had the opposite effect. These guys wanted me to get as big as possible. So they were feeding me with loads of carbohydrates, loads of sugars. And this is where I ballooned up. So I think within 4 or 5 years, I got to, my heaviest weight was around 18.5 stone. So I was pretty much a big unit, a big unit. I was walking around pretty much out of breath. Didn't like the way I felt. I was very, very depressed. I got very, very aggressive on the field. And as I said, I didn't like it at all. And I thought that this was pretty much the way to go, the way forward. So after that, then I decided, okay, I need to do something about this, because obviously you can't just look at this size. Like, I'm only 5'3", and to weigh 18.5 stone from my size was just absolutely crazy. So this is where I went in and out and looking for a coach. Got a coach in. Coach said to me pretty much straight away, okay, listen, you're going to be doing the standard 6 meals a day, and we're going to try and drop down your body fat, etc., etc., etc. But very quickly, I realized that what he had me on, because of the work like I had, it just wasn't sustainable. So in my mind, I was like, okay, this is just not normal. Is it normal to eat 6 meals a day? And he wanted me to train like 4 hours a day. And I was like, this is impossible. How can I do this? It's literally impossible. And we were focused on the C word, calories. Again, we'd have to, like, if I was eating 2,000 calories a day, I'd probably have to burn nearly 2,500 calories a day. If I didn't do well, let's say if I wasn't down on the scales, he would ask me like hard questions, like, where did you go wrong? Did you feel like you were going wrong? And it put an awful lot of stress on me at a young age to try and get in shape, and it just wasn't getting me anywhere at all. So this is when I just got really, really depressed about how I looked, and I was like, okay, I'm probably just one of those unlucky people that will probably never get in shape ever. And it's just basically, it's just going to keep on this continuous circle all the time. Then a couple of years later, I done a little bit of research into keto, and I came across Ken Berry, and I read up a good few things about what he was doing. And he was mentioning about okay, what about if you just reduce carbohydrates out of your lifestyle? Because I always felt when I had a mixed relationship with food, I would probably lose weight, but I would probably have digestive issues on the way. So I was like, okay, there's something not right here. And then it led down to other people. So then I heard a podcast on Robert Sykes. He was doing bodybuilding, and I heard all the good things about it. I was like, you know what, I might actually try this. And I'd say about a year and a half ago, I'd done an awful lot of research into it. And I said, right, I need to try this myself, and see what happens. And ever since then, since I've brought it in, I've felt absolutely amazing. My digestive system feels really, really great. My energy feels really, really great. My skin feels really, really great. And at this time in my life now, I'm actually loving the way I feel, how I look, and it just has a major impact on my life at the moment. So that's pretty much my story.
Wow, what a lot to fit in. So, Mark, I mean, I can't believe it. One of the few people I've ever encountered that's had the spectrum of being very underweight and very overweight. And I'm not going to put words into your mouth. I'm going to make this assumption and see if you think it's right. I mean, you said you were big at school and you were bullied.
Yeah.
And that's when you developed eating disorders. Did you do that just to stop you being bullied, or did you actually look at yourself in the mirror, regardless of the bullies, and think, yeah, I need to do something about this?
It was a mixture of both, to be honest. When I used to get bullied over my weight, I just wanted to fit in, to be honest. I was always somebody that would be always picked last on a sports team. I was always left out to the side. Girls didn't like me at all because I was carrying too much weight. And I was just I think that's what started it all off. I was just in a really, really dark hole that I couldn't get out of. And the only way I felt I could get out of it was to lose weight and be pretty much one of the crowd, be part of the crowd.
Now, I'm just playing devil's advocate here because obviously I've spoken to a lot of people about this, but I think we always need to do it in interviews for people who have never seen me before or not heard me. So when you said you were diagnosed with anorexia, what does that actually mean? Does it mean that you look in the mirror and however thin you are, you think you look fat, or what does it actually mean to you?
Yeah, so pretty much it means that you have an eating disorder, and no matter what you see in the mirror, you're still going to think that you're fat. And again, what you're kind of focusing on pretty much is calories. So you're looking at how many calories are in a food, and you're just trying and beat that every single day. So at the time, I was probably eating in less than probably 300 calories a day. And then it got to a stage where I felt comfortable to go days without any food. So I was basically living off fumes pretty much. I was going to the gym fasted. I could do it for about 3 or 4 days easily. So I was basically just pushing my body. It took over my mental health. And every time I looked in the mirror, I could see nothing, but everybody else could see that I was basically too thin. Bones were coming out of my cheeks. I had no energy. I remember one day a kid kicked a ball to me, just one of those plastic balls to me, and I couldn't even kick it. I went to kick it, and I thought I nearly broke my fall. That's how weak I was.
Do you look back at pictures now and wonder that you couldn't see it? Can you see it now?
Yeah. Oh yeah, look, I have pictures at home now from when I go home. My mother has actually kept them. And it actually disgusted me because I was literally on the edge of probably death at that time. And the pain that I put my family through at that time at such a young age that I didn't actually realize it. But it's something that I look on now and it's like, wow. And I know in the industry, there's an awful lot of women that struggle with this, but I know there's an awful lot of men also that struggle with this, and I was one of them. And it was such a painful time in my life at that time.
Yes. And then you got to the point where you collapsed and went into hospital. Was that a wake up call for you? Or I think you said you felt happy at four stone. So
yeah, at the time, I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. I went in and they were all asking me questions about why are you not eating, why are you not doing this, and I was like, there's actually nothing wrong with me. I feel okay. And it took a long, long time for me to mentally get over that. And at that stage, I should have been doing my exams in school. I had to go back to school in a later age to go back and finish it off. But at that time, it was just all about weight loss. It was all about the gym. It was all about food. It was all about getting in shape. It was all about just taking part and being part and being one of the crowd pretty much. I didn't think about anything else. I didn't think about my family. I was kind of in a situation where I was selfish. I was looking after myself and I wanted to keep it that way.
yes. And I think that one of the things that really struck me in your story there is you went from one extreme to another, because rugby would be the last place I'd expect a 4 stone boy to be embraced by the team, really, because rugby is for guys with a lot of muscle and a lot of weight, or anybody, even if you're playing female rugby, they still need to be strong. So you were told that you needed to be big and you went along with it, and then went from 4 stone 48 pounds to 18.5 stone, which is 259 pounds.
Yeah.
So literally 5 times the amount of weight.
Yeah, and like my calorie intake was quite high at the time. There was nothing measured. Nobody told me, okay, we need to phase you up into like certain things. We were told pretty much we could eat whatever we want. Donuts, pizzas, like you name it. And I'd say 90% of the food that we were eating was processed. Because it was just about getting as big as possible. And I loved it because we were in the gym probably a few times a week, and I loved the aspect that I was getting stronger, I was getting more confident, I was more confident with the ladies. But at the time, I was growing, but I wasn't feeling good at all. I was actually feeling rubbish. And then when I got on the pitch, I felt like an animal. I felt like untouchable. Nobody could actually go near me, but I couldn't run. I'd say after 2 minutes, 5 minutes, I was out of breath. I was walking up the stairs. I was out of breath. I was getting knee pains. I was getting back pains because I was carrying too much weight on my stomach. And again, I was looking at him saying, this is not normal. Like, how can this be normal? How can coaches be telling me to eat like all this food and gain as much weight? And most of it, as I said, most of it was like carbohydrates, a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of sugary food. And that's how I ballooned very, very quickly.
And then you discovered Ken Berry, and furthermore, you then discovered Robert Sykes, the Keto Savage. And what was it about what he was doing that made the penny drop for you?
He basically just said that he's been doing bodybuilding and he done it without carbohydrates. And as we know, as coaches, we're always told, okay, you need carbohydrates in your diet to build muscle, to do bodybuilding. I just finished a bodybuilding competition there last week. And it's what you see in the bodybuilding community now is everybody just eats carbohydrates. And they're saying like it's impossible to get in shape without them. And when I first heard Robert Sykes on a podcast, I was like, this is actually insane to just eat like pretty much steak and ground beef and butter and get an amazing shape. I was like, no, this is not real. This is not possible. So then that's when I looked into the likes of yourself, the likes of Colt and Jonathan and pretty much the whole carnivore community. I had to learn more about this. And to be honest with you, it was like being a skill. I was at home and I was studying this stuff for nearly maybe 5 or 6 hours a day. Every time I went for a walk, I was listening to probably your podcast and listening to the amazing transformations. I was like, wow, this is just insane. So I just kept on researching and learning and as much as I possibly can. And then I said, right, okay, if I'm gonna be learning about this, I might as well do this myself so I can actually show and appeal to everybody that, you know what, this actually works. And the best way I did that was I did the whole bodybuilding prep on a carnivore approach. And I did quite well out of it. So I can't thank Robert and yourself enough.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Robert is an amazing person, and I think I'll have to get him back on. And Ken Berry is, but I haven't got to him yet. I keep messaging, but you never know. Right. So how long have you been carnivore then?
So I'm on carnivore now, just going up to say 16 months now.
All right. So you're relatively new to it. Did you transition? Did you sort of try a keto, bit low carb before that, or did you straight in?
Yeah, I was. I was always. I think I came out of the carbohydrate space. Maybe I was kind of up and down in my career, so I just felt that carbohydrates didn't agree with me. I was walking around and I just wasn't feeling good. I felt inflamed. I was getting injured. So it kind of was trial and error. And then when it came to Ken Berry, this is when I took them out completely. I added in some fats like avocados, nuts, seeds, all those kind of stuff. And it was working for me. I got in decent shape, but again, I just didn't feel good. And I was like, okay, I need to do more research into this. And that's when I said, right, okay, what about if I just stick to like certain foods that actually make me feel good? So this is when I said, right, okay, we'll stick to high fats and we'll ignore the cholesterol people that are saying like if you eat too much cholesterol, it's going to be bad for you, it's bad for your heart and all that. So I said, right, let's just try it. Let's give it a few months and let's see what happens. Took out everything, just kept it simple. And to this day now, I feel great, and I don't think I'm ever going to change it ever again.
I don't blame you, and I'm glad you snuck in that bit about cholesterol, because if you lower your cholesterol intake, as in eating, your body just ramps it up. That's how important it is. It's so obvious to me. And I think you are a coach now yourself, coaching people in this way.
Yeah. So I've been coaching there for the last 20 years. And I started off with teaching people about the standard 6 meals a day, just move more, go to the gym a few times a week, trying to build muscle. But I'd say in the last year, since I've been learning as much as I can, I've been trying to phase people into the same approaches, into the same approach as me. And it's had a massive effect on my clients, hugely, to the point where I've seen health conditions deteriorate very, very quickly. which is fantastic. And I'm trying to do more of it. I'm trying to be an ambassador like you guys and say, right, okay, in this small country of mine, maybe I can actually make a difference. And because over here, people are going to the doctors, they're getting medication to try and help their health conditions, and it just doesn't work. And we all know that the root of the problem is just going to be all down to diet. If the diet's right, then obviously you're going to feel a lot better. If you feel a lot better, you're able to do more stuff. So that's basically what I try and approach to people I work with is, okay, let's find out what the root of the problem is first. Let's find out what the cause of the problem is first. And then we can actually see what we can do next. Because a lot of people will come to me and say, I'm overweight, I need to go to the gym. But you're actually making the problem worse there because you're not able to go to the gym. And eventually you're going to hit a wall and you're going to be like, you're going to put an awful lot of stress on yourself. So why don't you not do it the other way around? Why don't you not just start at home, feed the body what it needs, get that energy up, feel great about yourself, and then you'll be able to come back to me and say, listen, Mark, I can do walks, I can go for a swim, I can go to the gym. I'll be like, fantastic, this is what we want to do. So, and that's where we start. I try and say, right, okay, let's remove different parts out of the diet. First of all, let's remove the grains, the breads, the seeds. Let's start with the basics. Let's phase it out nice and slowly, instead of me just saying to you, okay, listen, I want you to just eat meat for the rest of your life. It's just going to be impossible. And if you look at my bio, I don't have carnivore or keto on my bio at all, because if I put carnivore or keto on my bio, I know for a fact they're just going to scroll back and say, listen, I've heard so much about that. It doesn't work. It's going to kill you, all this rubbish. Whereas if I bring people in and phase them down nice and slowly and educate them on why we're doing this, and then eventually when we go down to carnivore, they'll understand while they're there, I'll be able to keep them on down long term.
That is a brilliant philosophy. I mean, I've been coaching, I've been a personal trainer for about 15 years. And I would say exactly what you said. Since I've been doing carnivore coaching, the results are spectacular compared to where I was a high carb believer, where I would celebrate someone maybe losing 6-7 pounds and maybe reducing one of their diabetic medications. Now I'm disappointed if it's not 60 pounds and they're completely off their medications. And I think that's one of the things where we're different. And I appreciate what you're saying. I deliberately call myself the UK carnivore and the carnivore experience because I got fed up with the pushback all the time, even though there are results and I have over 100 success stories on video and 500, reviews. Just telling people it's so difficult to get through the mainstream media and, how ridiculous they talk about keto, how ridiculous they talk about carnivore. So I take my hat off to you for your using the stealth approach, which I think is great because you're getting to more people than me, I think, because you're just saying, I'm a coach, come to me. And then, like you say, phasing them in. So I think that might be something I need to look at. I mean, I deliberately called my app the Carnivore Experience because I didn't want people on there going, oh, this is no good, I need bread, or I like apples too much. But I think I've restricted myself as well with the amount of downloads. If I'd have just been like a health coach, maybe I would have 10 times the amount. But in the end, that's where you're thinking to get them, isn't it? I mean, to get them as low carb or ketogenic as possible, because it does seem to be the best thing for health.
I think so, because as I said, like everybody over here, the industry over here now is saturated. Everybody pretty much over here is a personal trainer and a coach. And there's some good ones and there's some really, really bad ones. And I don't know about you, but I see pretty much the same rubbish every day on Instagram or social media about influencers saying, like, listen, you can lead this 80-20 lifestyle where you can eat pretty much healthy every day for 80% and eat rubbish 20% every day. And for some people that might actually work. But I know for the majority of the people that I work with, it just doesn't work, because I get a lot of women coming to me that are over a certain age. And this is where they're struggling with their hormones or thyroid, health conditions like PCOS and stuff like that. And they have no idea what's happening. And they're going to the doctors and they're getting the wrong information. And even if they do, they've been put in on the wrong medication. I mean, I have a lady at the moment that's in the hospital, and I'm working with her at the moment, and you should see her diet. Her diet is absolutely disgraceful. Disgraceful. It's like there's no protein, there's no nutrient value whatsoever. It's just all sugar. And I'm like, you're actually speeding up the process of killing this woman. And I was told by the doctor, because when I tried to take this woman off their hands, I was told that literally you need to get away from him because he's actually going to kill you. Because I had her pretty much on a high fat diet. And I was told by the doctors, you need to get away from him as quick as possible.
Frightening, isn't it? It's absolutely frightening.
Crazy. And it's just because I haven't got a PhD or I'm not a doctor, and it's because I've learned a little bit of this, and I've done it myself, and I can see basically what it does, what other clients. So it's not like I'm a one-trick pony. Like you, I have dealt with a lot of people in the industry. They didn't just come to me with overweight conditions. They came to me for health conditions. And it's like I pretty much reversed a good few of them. And it's just been all down to just basically the carnivore approach. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's just basically give the body exactly what it needs. And you more than likely you'll come out of it. And but not only that, when you look at satiety level, when we look at most diets, people will say like, okay, I went on this diet, but they're struggling because they need to eat every 2 hours. They're really struggling. Whereas if you just give your body the food it needs, you're probably only going to eat once or twice a day because your body has actually been given the nutrients it needs in order to survive. So it's amazing how stupid people are. And I'm just trying to be a leader in the field and say, like, you know what, there is a different way to get in shape. There is a different way that you may be able to reverse your diagnosis. And it doesn't have to be down the pharmaceutical way or the doctor's way. There is another way.
Yeah, I think the word stupid always, I find that difficult because I think it's maybe people are too trusting of the sources of information because they're credible in their eyes. I can remember 20 years ago, I thought the BBC News was news. I genuinely thought there was a journalist out there digging around trying to find what the truth was. I now know that isn't true. So I think 20 years ago, I would call myself stupid, but looking back, I know I'm not stupid. I just was very well duped by a very slick, well-oiled machine of propaganda from big food and the pharmaceutical companies and the mainstream media, all making money out of people being sick. I don't want to get too political, but I think I really changed when I realized that I was being told to look at people as like gluttonous or not complying with the diet when they didn't lose weight, blaming them rather than blaming the food industry or the medications. And I now realize that, I fell for it hook, line and sinker. I really did believe I didn't touch red meat. I didn't eat fat, and I don't want to get into my story because everyone's heard it, but, every time I speak to someone, they feel like you, Mark, and they just get very frustrated and they want to do their best. I think that's the other thing. When people do become carnivore, you want to shout it from the rooftops and you want to tell everybody about it, but people aren't receptive. So you have to wait for them to come to you, like you're doing with your coaching, which I do think is brilliant. And I genuinely had a moment of insight there, thinking maybe I've put carnivore in too much of my publicity. But would you say that most people do once they sign up with you? Do you think that most people do listen to you and do follow that way, or do you get a lot of pushback still?
Not at the beginning, no. When I take somebody on, because they're so hooked on to what they've learned and what they've heard in the past, it takes a bit of time. So when I say to them, okay, listen, let's remove the bread, let's remove the grains, it immediately in their head they're thinking about, okay, he's telling me to remove carbohydrates. If I remove carbohydrates, eventually I'll probably do it for about a week or two, and then I'll be craving those carbohydrates again. And that's what I've seen an awful lot in the last year. So for me, when I take somebody on, it's all about education. I'm not trying to give someone a program. I'm not trying to give them an app. I'm trying to educate them as much as possible. I'll tell them the reason why this has happened on this week or the second week. And I usually work in phases. So the first 4 weeks, this is going to happen. The second 4 weeks, the third, and then we go on and on and on. So I try and give them like a 6-month plan or a year plan and tell them, this is what's going to happen in, say, a year's time. And I try and educate them around the food, because pretty much when they come to me and say, what kind of exercise should I be doing? I'm like, anything you want. You can dance in your kitchen. You can do weight training. You can do pretty much whatever you like. If it makes you feel good and you are happy, well, then honestly, just go and do it. But then I need to make sure, okay, first of all, in order to do that, I need to make sure you're well educated when it comes to the food. So again, I just remove it in phases. I remove different things. I'm not a big fan of going cold turkey. I think that's a bad idea. I think if you do that, you're leading yourself down a really, really dangerous avenue. I think that's when you lose them. And I'm fortunate enough that when I take someone on, I have them pretty much for a long, long time, because I feel like I'm talking to them, I'm educating them. I'm not doing what everybody else does. There's your app, there's your training plan. I'm more intimate. I want to know what's going on in your life. Tell me about your lifestyle. Talk to me about your cortisol. Talk to me about your medication. Talk to me about everything about your family life. I want to know as much detail as possible so I can get you over that line as quick as possible.
That's brilliant. And is it face to face or online?
No, it's everything's face to face.
Everything's face to face. Doesn't that make a difference? It makes a huge
difference. 100%. I would rather speak to a person. It gives them that, and that's something that I never had myself. Like if I look back at what I'm doing now, I wish I had someone like that in my corner, because that means I would have been looked after. I probably never would have went through the ups and downs that I had in my life. Whereas now I feel like I'm a role model. I'm a leader. I'm someone that they can speak to, and they know exactly the pathway they need to go.
Yes, that's superb. So another question: what if someone is watching this and they live in America and they think, wow, this Mark's a great guy? Would you be able to coach them online, or is that not really what I know what you just said. I am listening to you. Would you be able to do it remotely, or is that not really in your remit?
Well, I have a few clients already in America, and I have a few clients in Australia as well. So it's pretty basic. Because as I said, I don't do anything technical. I don't have the best program. I don't send any programs to people. I basically listen to what their needs are, and I design the workout for them. And again, when it comes to training, it's not specific. It's just all down to diet. That's all it is. I make sure that they're getting the right macros, and that's pretty much all I send on a weekly basis is their macros. It's like, okay, there's your macros for the week. That's what you need to do. You need to check in with me once a week. Make sure you're there for that call. We go over the things that went wrong, and we just try and fix them. So it's quite basic. My check-ins only last about 10 to 15 minutes, pretty much. And once everybody are adhere to what they need to do, they pretty much get there very, very quickly. So I'm not saying I know it all, but I know exactly I just know exactly what I'm doing, because I have a lot of people that have been there, that have come out the other side, and it just gives me the more I help people and the more transformations I've seen, it just gives me that more confidence to say, you know what, you actually know what you're talking about here.
Well, yeah, that comes shining through just speaking to you, and you're passionate and you've lived it, which is an amazing thing. And also having that spectrum of being underweight and overweight and having eating disorders, it gives you such good life experience. You've really been there. Yeah, I take my hat off to you. So if people did want to contact you, Mark, how was they going to go about that?
So you'll go onto my Instagram page and you'll find me at Fitness Beyond Time 01, or you can go onto my Facebook page also, and I'll also be on there at Fitness Beyond Time 01.
Yeah, brilliant. And there'll be links in the description. So I'm going to do this in case you don't know where the description is. And I'm going to thank you very much. I really enjoyed this.
No problem, Stephen. Thanks for having me on.